welcome to today's video. This is Beauty by Sheila Lynn, where everything I bring you is always beauty related. In the tutorial I have for you today, I know a lot of us struggle with. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about hooded and semi-hooded eyes and how to work with eyeshadow. If you like this video, by the end of it, I hope you will subscribe and click that little bell for new content every week. So what I'd like to talk about is what hooded eyes are and to know if you have them. Now, my eyes particularly are what they call semi-hooded. They're not fully hooded, so you still can see some of my lid there. Some days they're droopier than others, depending on, I guess, how much fun I had the night before. Definitely, they're always hooded. I never knew this was a thing until recently, and I always wondered why I struggled with eyeshadow. Shimmers, glitters, anything like that were completely off limits for me, just because I didn't know how to work with them. So now that I've been doing a lot more makeup, just practicing a lot more often, I feel like I've mastered this technique for myself, so I wanted to bring it to you guys. You can make your life easier. Why not, right? Everybody wants to have an easier beauty routine, hands down. I know that we all do. That's why we all try new expensive products, right? Well, I'm not trying to sell you anything today. I'm just going to give you the techniques that work for me, things that I have come to master over time, and I just really feel like this is the time to share it with you guys. I have been wanting to film this video for quite a while, so here we are. Yay! Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is matte eyeshadow. If you are new to eyeshadow, if you are new to experimenting, I would definitely suggest matte eyeshadow, 100%. Try to stay away from shimmers, glitters, shiny, anything that pops out. I know that it sounds really boring, but if you're first learning, don't try to venture out. Just stay in your home, stay in your box. This is probably the only time I'm going to tell you to stay in your box. Makeup does have rules, and I know that a lot of us don't say that, and it's kind of like fashion. Like, people say, oh, there's no rules in fashion, but I am a believer in some of those rules. So, and I'll tell you why, because things just tend to turn out better, and I know that a lot of us like to push the envelope, and that's perfectly fine. But when you're just learning, it is important to learn the basics. So this is just going to be a basic tutorial about what products to use to make your eyes look more open, and to take away from this hood. What we want to do is make sure that people aren't focusing on this line here. We want to make sure that they're focusing either on your beautiful eyebrows, your gorgeous eye color, your long gorgeous eyelashes. That's what we want people to be focusing on, our attributes, not our downfalls. Smashbox, I'm not being paid by Smashbox at all. Every product that I use, unless otherwise specified, is always purchased by myself. This is not promoted. I'm not being paid by Smashbox at all. I just really feel like their palettes are some of the best mattes for people with hooded and semi-hooded eyes. Again, I know this sounds so boring, and I'm sorry. I hate to tell you this for people with hooded and semi-hooded eyes. Neutrals are your best friends. Best friends. Best friends. Yeah. So that's why there's so many palettes out there. I know people get mad. They're like, why is there another neutral matte palette? Why? Well, that's because it works for a lot of people. The next time something pops out at you and you're like me and you get distracted by everything that's shiny, put that shiny palette down and pick something like this one. Okay, this is my Smashbox Cover Shot Matte Eye Palette. Take that all in, and again, I know that this looks super boring. Oh, you guys can see my setup. I know that this looks super boring. I'm just gonna cover the mirror. Okay, but this is really where your home should be until you are ready to venture out. That takes a while. I've been doing eyeshadow for years, and I finally, after watching tutorial after tutorial after tutorial, taking hints from each video and incorporating them into my own personal makeup style, I really feel like I've kind of honed in my skills. So let's start talking about what a hooded eye is. So a hooded eye is where you have a crease, okay? There are fully hooded eyes, semi-hooded eyes, and people who don't have hooded eyes at all. The people who don't have hooded eyes, we envy you. Yes, we do. Because you guys can do those absolutely gorgeous cut crease looks with those beautiful glitters, beautiful shimmers. For people like me, it takes a little bit more work, and that's fine, but I don't always have 15 minutes to make a brand new crease up here somewhere. I just don't have time. So I'm not going for a super full glam. I'm just going for a day-to-day look. I'm gonna go in with this gorgeous pink color. I'll be using a blender brush. Blender brush. Blender brush. Blender brush, blender brush, blender brush. Say that 5 times. Okay, so you're just gonna get a little bit of product, and you're always gonna tap or blow, whatever you like. One of the things is that you have to remember is to always lightly hold your brushes. You are not going to be holding it like a pen at the tip. You want to make sure that you are holding them extremely lightly, because you are just going to be lightly adding a little bit of color. The key to this is to put it above your crease. So what this is doing is it's taking people's attention away from that harsh crease that we have. You're just gonna push that product up closer to your eyebrow. This is gonna be your transition color. Okay, so you wanna use kind of a medium neutral to be this transition color. Okay, now you can already tell the difference between this eye and this eye, right? This eye looks a little bit more lifted. Your line of sight is not focusing as much on the crease as it is on this side, right? It's a little bit softer. That's the look that we're going for. Now what I like to do is just sweep a little bit of that medium neutral onto my lids. And again, this is just a base. I'm gonna do the same exact thing with the same color using a different brush on this side. I'm gonna show you guys how I used to do. I'm gonna be using, it's just kind of a puffy brush. I would use this to probably blend, but back in the day, what I would do is I would put this transition color right in the crease of my eye. Now again, if I was like this the whole night, which I do sometimes, unless I was doing that, you wouldn't be able to see any of this gorgeous color that I just packed into my crease, right? Okay, so then I let that go and look. Doesn't look like there's anything there, right? Okay, so the whole point is to make sure that we are not accentuating the crease. We don't want to accentuate the crease. We want to diffuse it, diffuse it, diffuse it. We want to make sure people are focusing on something other than the crease. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to sweep some of this highlight color over my lid. Because what I like to do is just keep my lid as bright and light as possible. Now, I always highlight the brow bone as well. So what I would have done before I knew what to do was, of course, I would highlight the brow bone, because I've always done this. Okay. So even after doing that, it still doesn't look like I'm wearing much eyeshadow, right? So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with this gorgeous, gorgeous plum color. And this is the one that's taken me a long time to master, because what you wanna do is you want to, people with hooded eyes, you wanna make sure, again, that you're not accentuating the crease, that you're just kind of blending it and diffusing it out. I always tend to pull the eyeshadow out this way, because my eyes are very round and they're kind of short. So what I'd like to do is just blend it out so that my eyes appear longer. We're not so much focusing on, you know, bringing it up here. We're just focusing on the crease, the outer corner, and just kind of bringing it out. I feel like that looks better. And I'll show you on this side what I used to do. So with a blender brush, this is my Sonia Kashuk. I absolutely love this. I've had this forever. I'm just gonna go in and I'm just gonna lightly kind of put that into the corner of my eye. Okay. And then I'm just gonna kind of blend. And again, you're not focusing on packing a lot of color at this point. You really just want to bring out the depth. Okay, do you see the difference between this eye and this eye already? This eye looks a little bit longer, this eye looks a little bit shorter, right? So you want to kind of bring this out and just keep blending. You just want to blend, 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 blend. Now you don't have to use a darker color on the outer part. I like to because I feel like it kind of goes a little bit better when you're doing a wing eyeliner. Now what I used to do was I would put it in my crease, then I would also pack a ton of color on my eyelid. Don't ask me why. Now, I guess that this would be okay for back in the day when you did like smoky eyes, but if you have hooded eyes like I do, what it does is it just closes this whole area. Do you see how open and uplifted this eye looks and how narrow and dark this eye looks? Same products, same brushes, right? Just a completely different application. So the problem with this eye is that there's no transition color here, because what I did was I just put it in the crease, right? So again, guys, this is what's not to do on this. What to do, what not to do, what to do. Some of you are probably thinking, well, what's wrong with this eye, right? There's nothing wrong with it. The problem is that that darker color is just closing everything in. I know that for me, when I have a lot of dark eyeshadow on, people always ask me, are you okay? Are you feeling good? Is everything all right? Because I just look tired, and yeah, I don't look as awake. So the next thing I would do is I would blend in a real dark color. So I'm going to use this smoky called Work It. Work It, W-E-R-K, Work It. I'm going to blend this into my crease. And again, this is what I used to do, guys. This isn't what I do now. I'm just showing you a demo of what not to do, okay? You don't want anything too dark on a daily basis, because see, what it's doing is it's creating this line here, right? We don't want that. We do not want any lines, but as much as you try to blend that out, it's really difficult to do that. So this just kind of looks dark and shady. This looks light and open and airy, right? Big difference. The next thing I would like to do is to show you guys how to use shimmer. I know that I said no shimmer, but this is key to your eyes looking open and awake. And this is a trick that I've learned probably over the last year or so. And I know that most of you probably know what it is, but I want to show you how I use it and incorporate it into your looks every day. If I don't have time to put any eyeliner on whatsoever, I always use this, and I use mascara at the very least. So what I do is I just take a little bit of this. This is my Nomad Illuminating Highlighting Powder in the Midnight Sun. So you can use any illuminating powder, any stick, anything that you want, and I just take a tiny bit, and I'm gonna just dab it into the corner of my eye, okay? Now what happens is the light's gonna reflect that. People are gonna be like, oh, Sheila, you always look so fresh. That's my trick for the highlighter. I'm gonna show you guys on this side what I used to do with this shimmery shadow. I I know. I used to put it below my brow bone. Okay. Oops. Dang it. I used to put below my brow bone. So this was like Sheila circa 2005. I've come a long way, I know. Again, the biggest thing to remember is that we want to make sure that our eyes look open and that people are not focusing on this crease. So moving on to eyebrows. Eyebrows are so important for people with hooded eyes because you want to make sure that your eyebrows are not overtaking your eyes and not too thick. Mine are tattooed on, so I can't really work with them too much, but I am very happy with the symmetry that I have. So I really just kind of add a little bit of pencil to just kind of straighten everything out, make them look a little bit more natural, because when I don't do that, they are a bit shiny and they look like a tattoo, which is fine because I wake up, you know, with eyebrows. I always like to go in with a liner and just kind of clean those edges up. Also, another thing about eyebrows is you always want to make sure that you have a nice arch, because where there's a point, people's eyes are going to move to that point. Okay, it's like a mountain. You look at a mountain range, you're not looking at the bottom of a mountain range. Your eye tends to look at the top. If you can get that nice peak, okay, people are going to be focusing on your peaks and not your creases. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of filling this in. I'm not making them any thicker than they are right now because you want to have as much space between here and here. This is where you want all the light to be. Okay. Again, I can't really work with my shape too much because my eyebrows are tattooed, so they're not going anywhere. Okay, so I'll show you why that peak is important. This side's a little bit more rounded out, so it'll be a good comparison. And I'll show you what it looks like when you have a real thick eyebrow. Make this thicker, not necessarily on the top. The top isn't what is going to be the problem. The issue is going to be when people bring their eyebrows down too low and you take away from this space here. Okay, so you want to make sure. I do use a lot of blonde pencils, so hopefully this will come through on camera. What I'm going to do is just thicken this up at the bottom and kind of try to give myself no arch. Okay, and obviously you don't want to go too dark on that brow either. You want it to be natural. Moving on to eyeliner. Eyeliner can be your absolute best friend, I promise. It is not something to be afraid of. It's not something to shy away from. Eyeliner can be an extremely useful tool. There are tricks though, obviously. That's what this video is about. One thing that I used to do was I tightline the bottom lash. I felt like that always gave me more depth, more definition, and it made my eyes pop, which it did, but at the same time, it makes your eyes appear smaller. And when I say eyes, I mean your eye opening. I'm not talking about your actual eyeballs. I feel like most of us kind of have the same size eyeballs. It's really the opening and how much skin you have around your eyes. So that makes the biggest difference. It's kind of with how your eye shape is. I felt like it always made them look a little bit more almond. What I used to do was I used to line my bottom lash. Definitely gives more definition. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but let me show you the difference between a dark liner and a light eyeliner. This is a shimmery gold, okay? So shimmery eyeliners I think are fantastic on hooded eyes, because any time that you can get that light bounce off of your eye, I think is always good. Tight lining with a lighter eye pencil. and what it does for the look of your eye. Don't ask me why it didn't dawn on me, but when I started watching videos and seeing people tightlining, I was like, that is the coolest thing ever, because it gives you definition without taking up any lid space. Instantly, it gives you a little bit more drama and a little bit more definition without taking away any of this upper lid area. Didn't do anything to it. That's what we want. We want tricks that are going to accentuate what we have and make our lives easier. Yes, keep watching. I have a blockbuster. People even say that anymore. Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore. I liked it when it did though on Friday nights. We'd go and get pizza and we would get a blockbuster movie. It was the best. That's when times were good. I'm gonna show you guys how I used to do my liner and why it makes such a difference to know if you have hooded eyes and how to work with them. Again, going back to where, you see, I have a lot of extra skin, okay, that hangs. Now the problem with that, the issue with eyeliner is that a lot of people, what they do is they start up here, right? And they go towards the end of their eyebrow. Now, the problem with that is that if I want to do a wing and I want to do something kind of thick, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go straight through that piece of skin and that fold. So it's going to end up looking funky, weird, and I'm probably going to end up getting a bunch of makeup in this area where I don't want it. So again, what I used to do was just open my eyes real big. And do you see what I'm doing? I'm going right across that fold. And do you see right there how there is a big space that doesn't have any makeup on it? And when I do this, what it's gonna do is it's gonna transfer to the top of my lid. Okay, so the worst thing to do is to keep your eyes open when you're doing eyeliner. What I like to do now is just to let the fold kind of settle naturally. So I have like my crazy wing on this side. This is my e.l.f. This is usually one of my go-tos, my e.l.f. eyeliner pen in the coffee color. And I'll show you the difference between a crazy wing that's real thick and bold as opposed to a thin line on this side. Now going back to what I said about the eyeshadow, bringing it out instead of focusing on like pulling it up, what I like to do is take my felt tip liner pen and instead of going up, okay, towards the end of my eyebrow, I like to go out even more, almost a straight line. And what I like to do is hit the very, very bottom. I'm not starting from here and working up. I don't want that. I'm gonna give the effect of like shortening your eye. And what you want to do is elongate that eye. I like to go into the middle of my eye. I'm just going to kind of work my way inwards from that middle section. And the biggest thing you want to remember is the closer to your lash line, the better. You do not want a thick, heavy line. You don't want to take up any more space. This is coveted space here. You don't want to take up any more space than you absolutely positively need, because it's just going to leave all that really light area there. And then when it gets to the inner corner, I almost kind of start tightlining with the eyeliner pen. I'm I'm gonna go towards the end and just kind of work my way back to that middle part. Okay, and you guys can see how much thinner this side is than this side, right? We're gonna connect these two lines by just kind of going in very lightly. Okay, and you're just wanting to elongate the look of your eye without using too much of this space there. So what you're doing is you're drawing the eye out, right? You want people to look at this, the very corner here. And you just want this liner to be as tight to your lash line as possible. You can kind of mess around with the wing here. You can make it a little bit thicker at the edge. You just don't want to take up any of that coveted space on your lid. Kind of go in and just kind of make that a tiny bit thicker, but not too thick. You can make those gorgeous wings that everybody loves. So what you want to try to avoid is this area here where the eye folds. The reason that I like to go out is because when you do that wing, you're not interrupting this area here. You're not even going close to it. So there's a big difference between going into that flap here and then not touching it at all here. Makes your eyes look so much bigger and brighter, the end result that you want. And we're gonna go in with some mascara. Now I can't really do much about my lashes, but what you can see is the huge difference between this eye and this eye. You can't see my lashes on this side, right? Only if I put fake lashes on would you be able to see anything. And I don't necessarily always have time for falsies. So this side again kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more time to kind of do what you need to do in the morning. Get your coffee, get your kids ready, get ready for school, get ready for work, but looking our best doing it. That wraps up my hooded eye tutorial. I hope that you guys learned something and enjoyed this video. If you did, I hope you'll give it a big thumbs up. Hopefully subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And click that little bell for new content just like this every week. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know that our lives get super busy, so thank you for taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.